Funding provided by Fairway Meat and Grocery is proud to sponsor the Iowa Girls State Soccer Championships. Fairway believes in supporting the places Iowans learn, work, live, and play. By Musco Lighting, the sports lighting specialists, providing lighting systems for you, your project, and your community.
What a great strike. The ball bubbled out. Tipped over. Bottom corner. That's an absolutely fantastic ball.
High school athletes train their entire lives in hopes of a magical senior season. But a worldwide pandemic had other plans for the class of 2020, and Iowa Springs soccer season was canceled due to COVID-19. At Iowa PBS, our cameras have brought you the joy of victory and the agony of defeat for decades, and this year is no different. Today, we'll look back at the highlights from the 2017, 18, and 19 Iowa Girls Soccer Championships. We'll talk with the coaches and senior players about their past tournament runs, the memories they've made, and their hopes for the season that never happened. Let's go back to 2017 and Class 1A. The Center Point Urbana Storm and Pointers were in the title game and fell to the Assumption Knights 3-0. And the Storm and Pointers here joining us now. We've got a couple of players and the co-head coaches, Todd Mitchell and Rich Plant. Gentlemen and ladies, good to have you here. Coach Mitchell, let's start with you.
Thank you.
Nobody wants to remember a defeat, but what do you remember about the experience of 2017?
I remember a lot of hard work put in leading up to that day, a couple really tough matches the days before. And I remember probably one of the best memories is just a team with a lot of heart. We really believed coming into that game that we had a shot at those guys. And I think we really hung tough with them. They're a perennial favorite every year. But our girls hung in there, played tough. I remember it being a great day in spite of the ending.
Rich, Coach talks about a 2-1 loss to Gilbert, or a 2-1 victory over Gilbert, a 1-0 against Polk. Both won gold games. Were you nervous during either of those?
I always get nervous in the playoffs because you never know what's going to happen. It could be the slightest little error that makes a difference in the game. Our girls, when it was tied up at one point, it was one of those things where who had the most heart and who had the most drive, and watching the girls come together to adapt and overcome. It was just one of those special days, or days, I should say, those games that we won. It was like one domino falls, then the next domino falls, and then we're at the goal that we wanted to be at.
Lauren and AJ, you're both multi-sport athletes. You've been at the big state events before. You've seen it, experienced. What's special, AJ, about soccer for you?
I just think it's a family. Soccer is really fun. I mean, we have a lot of fun together on and off the field, and it just has a really good atmosphere of a family, and I really like that.
Lauren, same question to you. What did you like? What do you like about soccer, and especially that 17 campaign?
Yeah, I mean, that year specifically, we always talk about having a sisterhood on our soccer team, and there's really nothing that compares getting especially that far with 10 of your closest friends on the field.
And in a small school, as Coach Mitchell said, it's a tight-knit community type of a thing. I don't think everybody realizes that until they're in a small school, just how tight-knit when your class is 50 to 100 people. You really do know everybody. So from 17, of course, you want to make it back in 18 and 19 and 20. What was the mentality that kept you going during your high school careers? As a freshman, you're like, oh, this is the way it's going to be all the time.
Yeah, I think a big part of keeping that mindset was the legacy before us. Like every year in front of us, there was a class that was hungry for it and motivated and willing to put in the time and energy to actually realistically put themselves in a position to get there. And just seeing that and seeing them reap the rewards of that down the road really just kept kindling the fire for us along our high school years.
AJ, I know you had the state basketball experience. You had the state cross country experience. When you found out there wasn't going to be a soccer experience, what was the mindset?
I think it was a wave of disappointment. I think the worst part was I was just sad that I didn't realize it was my last soccer game, and didn't realize it was the last time I was going to put on those cleats or play a soccer game. I think it was just really sad for me.
Lauren, was there anything special about the state experience that you recall? I mean, everybody paints a bus and makes signs. I mean, do you have any of those signs? Did you keep any of those pictures or anything?
I keep just about everything from state. Yeah, I'm kind of a hoarder when it comes to that, but I have every name tag they've given us, anything they give out, any ticket my mom or sister or family members will keep. All those mementos mean the world to me. And the state does a great job of doing it up and making you feel really special and giving you little mementos like that to remember it by.
Or T-shirts, right, AJ? So you got one of those T-shirts on?
Yep.
Wrong sport, but it's still something that you value, right?
Yes, definitely. These pink T-shirts everybody is looking for them, and it's good once you get one.
Todd, when you think about this campaign, how do you think, or that you try to? This is a weird life lesson for everybody. But
Sure
how
is.
do you try to, what was that message like when you had to tell them?
And I think we mourned with the rest of them. Right after the governor made the announcement, we got everybody on a Zoom call and just talked through it. There were some tears. There was probably some tears from the coaching staff just as much as there were from some of the girls. It was sort of a strange reality setting in. But we also tried to emphasize the positive. Anybody that's been around sports like these girls have, and like Rich and I have, knows that the season leading up to the season is often a lot of work too. So we had put in a lot of effort. The girls were doing senior-led practices already, and they were doing everything they could to plan for what we thought was going to be a pretty powerful season. So just the process through that, like Lauren said, Rich and I talked a lot afterwards and tried to get on the same page about what message we want to send these girls about a life lesson. And they were this will prepare them for some trials and tribulations in life, and they'll be telling their grandkids about living through this season in their life.
Rich, it's too bad. This is a quality group of girls.
Very quality. In fact, Todd and I were talking along with Coach Dickinson and Coach Woolridge, and you always surmise how good your season might be. Just think about it, and not to say the other teams weren't going to get better as well, but we felt on paper and with what we know about our girls, and even a girl who transferred over to our school, we felt that this was probably one of the best teams that we were going to field for this year. And then, of course, it's the season that never was, so you can only surmise where you would have finished. We feel very strongly we would have made it to the playoffs, but you never know. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
You got to move on.
Yeah. Ladies, best of luck to you in your next steps. And coaches, thank you for your time and dedication to the sport and building it there in Eastern Iowa. And best of luck to all of you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the time.
Let's talk to the Union Knights from Class 2A in 2017. Coach Hunter Zempel joins us now. And Coach, you got some of these players that have been contributing to your squad for a number of years. Let's go back to 2017. I know that not everybody likes to remember a second place, but what do you remember about that championship game?
Oh, I think the start, well, first off, it was like, I felt like there was like 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Weather here, windy and warm.
That was a big thing going into our discussion with talking to, Emma and I think the two Wagner girls, Lexi and Lauren, like, hey, when we have the wind this half, we got to try to get some shots from distance because this is going to be obviously a bigger difference when we have to go against it. And all those girls were capable of scoring from distance, so that's made a point to tell them that. And I think we started off, I don't really remember the minute, but we started off scoring first.
Very well as they take the shot. Ridinghouse with the shot, and she gets it! Wow! A 40-yarder!
It was Emma Ridinghouse.
First, like, 30
wasn't
minutes.
the one who scored for you all the time that year.
Yeah, it wasn't Courtney. But yeah, Emma had a great shot, and I knew that's kind of what we needed. We were a lot younger team than Lewis Central, I believe, at the time. I mean, we basically had Courtney and Emma and Marika, and that was about the only upperclassmen we had on the team. So I knew if we could start a little faster and give these girls the confidence and, let them continue to play with confidence throughout that game, I thought we would have a better chance towards the end. But yeah, we got off to a good start and thought we played well. I think Lewis Central was, dominating the possession a little more than we were. But we kind of expected that going into the game. They were just better set up to do that at, that point in time. They leveled the score. And then I think about the halftime break or whatever, because of the temperature, I thought we were, in the second half, I thought we were doing a much better job of creating more chances, and I felt like we were looking more dangerous. And then they got a penalty.
I don't think that's a penalty, honestly.
Which was debatable, but we'll,
you haven't forgotten about that?
No, I haven't forgot about that. I remember being pretty fired up about that during the game. But no, they got a penalty. The girl made it. So, and then I just think that we ran out of steam a little bit at the end, but I think we had one big chance, and Courtney had a header right at the end that the girl cleared off the line.
Union trying to tie this one up. Rottinghouse with the blast towards the net. It's up and in, but no, knocked away by Lewis Central, the defender.
It was a gut wrencher, I guess, for me anyways. Yeah. And I'm sure everybody else.
Lexi and Lauren, you're on that team. It's a 2-1 decision. Windy day, hot day. What do you remember? Is Coach pretty accurate there?
Yeah. I just remember being really, really hot. And I don't know. It just felt like we were trying and we just couldn't get that last shot to go in, or our chance. Yeah. We were trying really hard. It just wasn't really working. I just remember being in lots of pain because the day before we left for state, I pulled my right quad, and after our first game at state, I couldn't even walk to my room. It hurt so bad. So I was dealing with that. So there was that going in my head, and then the wind and the hot, and then the finals. So it was a lot of pressure. It was nerve-wracking. Yeah.
Jasmine, you get by Waverly Shell Rock and North Scott to get into the title game. What about those first 2 games do you recall?
First 2 games? Was it semifinals? That was
against North Scott. Yeah.
North Scott.
Yeah, that game. That one for me was very, obviously if you've seen my one interview, that one for me was very motivational, because throughout that whole game, through games, you got to have confidence that you're going to win, you're going to come back. And through that one, we really pulled through on that. And that one gave me a big boost for the finals, especially, because I'm if we can do this, we can literally do anything. So I was feeling pretty high, great, high spirits and everything.
Yeah. Madison, that whole part at state is something. I mean, you've got to experience it a couple of times. Does any of the trips stand out to you?
Well, definitely my freshman year, because when we went back junior year, I was out with recovering from an ACL surgery. So I didn't get to play in the junior year state. So I actually only played in the state my freshman year. And that was, without a doubt, highlight of my high school career. I'll never forget it. It was because coming in as a freshman, starting, and then making it all the way to the state finals. I wish I would have soaked it in a little more, not knowing it was my last one. But yeah.
That's got to be hard. I mean, you think you've recovered from the knee injury, you've done all the work, and you're hoping that 2020, do you feel that there was something left on the table there? Which one's been harder to deal with, the knee injury or not having a chance at all in 2020?
That's a hard one. I think this one was harder just because I know how much I've missed. So it's all right, senior year, it's going to be my year. We're going to go out and do what we do best. And then for it to just because we spent all winter practicing and preparing, and we were so ready for this final year. And then for it to just disappear, it's like,
Yeah.
Riley,
And
was it
since
tough
I
for you?
haven't
Go ahead, keep
played-
finishing, Madison.
Since my last game that I played in for high school was the game that we lost to go to state sophomore year. So like that's crazy to me that I hadn't played since then. And then I'm not gonna get to play.
Riley, you thinking the same thing? It was kind of tough.
Yes, it was very tough.
Which one was harder for you, that 2017 coming up short or not getting a chance to play here in 2020?
Well, I tore my ACL in the winter time, so I wasn't going to be able to play this whole senior season anyways. So that was probably the worst, was knowing that I wasn't going to get to play. And that was before, obviously, the season was canceled. So that was the hardest for me, was when I knew that the season was over. But when it ended up getting canceled, that made it even worse, because then I know like Fresh would never get to play as a high schooler ever again. So like it was kind of like 2 rounds of disappointment, like first the knee injury, and then it's like over for everybody else at the same time. So that was worse than losing at state, I guess.
Lauren, has the team changed at all from when you were freshman to now?
Changed? Oh, goodness.
I mean, of course, seniors kind of come and go, but
yeah,
I mean,
I think it has changed. I feel like as a team, we've gotten closer with everyone, and everyone has gotten better and better at each season. So I feel like each season we come back, we got stronger and stronger, and our connections were better. We passed the ball better. We were faster. We just, I guess.
Riley, what's changed for you over the years in the game?
Okay, so as a team, like as freshmen, we had a really strong leader, and that was Courtney Powell, as you know, like one of the best players Iowa has ever seen.
Powell gonna try to drive it. Look out, here comes the Gazelle.
I feel like she led the team obviously a lot, and we had someone to look after, someone to pretty much fall back on, because as freshmen, we probably weren't strong enough to hold that whole team by ourselves. But moving on to sophomore year, we lost her because she graduated. And so we had a lot of shoes to fill in, but we had a lot of feet to fill in that one pair of shoes pretty much. So our confidence was probably not as strong as it could have been our sophomore year. And anyways, moving on to junior year, we knew our strengths, we knew what we could do, and we sure did that our junior year. And I would have loved to see what we could have done our senior year, because I know all of our confidence would be through the roof, Fresh would be back, and our team was golden.
What has it been like to be with your sister, Lexi and Lauren, to be together?
Well, I think it's a blessing that I get to play with her, and that we play like basically the same position, just like a little difference. But because I know her so well, is that I know what she's gonna do with the ball. Like we think the same way. Yeah. So I know what she's gonna do. I know what she's gonna do. So that means I can get in the position to get the ball from her, or give her, or make a good run. Like we just know what each other is gonna do. We click really well together. Yeah. So I made it easier for us. Yeah.
That DNA thing's kind of hard to overcome, right?
Yeah.
All right, Jasmine, you get to do a shout out to all your other teammates that didn't get a chance to play this year. Who do you feel for that didn't get a chance to play this year?
Madison and Riley. I feel so bad.
Other ones?
My sister. Yeah.
Coach, how do you think you're going to pull this group of 2020 seniors, maybe keep them into the program, at least maybe different than what you've done with other seniors in the past, to give them some sense of closure for this time in their lives?
I guess one thing I've already told them, I've probably sent a message to each senior, personal message, just letting them know how much I've enjoyed having them over the last 4 years. And that, the door is always open for them if they want to come back, and, whether it's, I don't know, run an open gym, or, just be there for practice, maybe give a talk to them after practice one day or something, if they're available. And then, of course, I'm going to try to make it to as many, of their college games as I can, cheer them on. If they ever need anything from me, just I'm there to help them however I can, and then just wish them the best of luck going forward. They're all great kids, and I think they're going to be really successful moving on. So they got the world at their fingertips. Now they just got to use the things that they've been taught and practicing these past 4 years of high school, and I think they'll do just fine.
All right, seniors, thank you so much. Best of luck to all of you in your next endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's the Union Knights. Thank you very much, ladies. Time to look back at the 2017 season. Rob Chapman and the Valley Tigers that year, runners-up, as they lost a heartbreaking 1-0 loss to Ames. And they some of those players from that year, and Coach joins us now. Coach, how you doing? This is kind of a weird thing to be doing. You should be out practicing right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a devastating 2020, that's for sure, with the expectations I had with these young ladies.
Let's talk about how their careers, when they were their first year in the Valley Tiger program. That's one thing. They're not even in the high school building at that point. Kind of hard to develop along, but they contributed as freshmen. What do you remember about that 2017 campaign?
We had a nice mix of upperclassmen and underclassmen. This freshman class with Lily, Blake, and Mackenzie was outstanding. And, it was just a really nice build-up as everybody sort of figured out what their role was, what their expectations were for us to get to that championship game. I mean, we went through Centennial and Ankeny, which were both just hard-fought battles. And unfortunately, they've had the other upper hand on us the last couple of years. But that year, we made a heck of a nice run to get to the state title.
Well, you actually had really tight games in the regional tournament. You beat Southeast Polk 2-0 and City High 1-0. And then both of the games against Ankeny and Centennial were one goal games. What's that say about a team when they're able to win close games like that?
It just you just find a way to capitalize on your opportunities, because when you get down to state, every team down there is excellent, and most games are decided by 1 point most of the time. I mean, every state championship we've won has been by 1 goal. So it takes a little bit of luck, stay healthy, and really when you get that chance to score a goal, because everybody has great defenses, you just got to seize that opportunity in that moment.
Mackenzie, you played a lot of minutes that year. What do you remember about that season, and specifically the state tournament?
What I remember is that season, when it first started, I was a little nervous because I was like a freshman coming in. But I built up mentality, and I ended up having a really fun freshman season. In the state tournament, I had a tough battle during the state tournament, but I ended up getting through it and working hard and getting even better for my sophomore year leading up.
Blake, go back to 17, freshman year. It's all kind of new to you, and you didn't play like that. You played like you were a vet.
Yeah, I had a lot of the same experiences as Mackenzie. Something that stood out about that year, though, was definitely the senior leadership. We had, I think 3 captains, but just overall the senior class was something that definitely held the team together. And I think that was something that us 3 were going to try to mirror this year and this season, because that was ultimately what led us to be so successful. And I think in the state tournament, I think that team just had such great chemistry that was something we lacked the next 2 years. So there's just something special about that team. And obviously it didn't end how we wanted it to, but I'm really proud of the 2017 season.
Lily, the chemistry was it starting to work here in the off season as you're trying to get to that senior year?
Yeah, so the couple months leading up to this supposed season that we were supposed to have, I think we were really trying to mirror what that 2017 senior class did for us. They really created good chemistry for our team, and I think we were just trying to do the same, kind of ease the freshmen's nerves and kind of pull the team together. And I think we were doing a really good job with that, and I think we were on track to get another shot at the state title this year.
Blake, when you heard that the season was done, what was the emotion?
Of course, it was devastating. I think we all kind of knew that something like that would probably end up happening just because school kept getting pushed back. And so I think we were expecting it on some level, but to hear that final message from Governor Reynolds, it was definitely like the finality of it was hard to kind of deal with and process. I don't think it hit me for probably a couple weeks after that. But yeah, it's just, you just keep thinking about like what could have been and all this stuff. So, we're trying to get some things put together for the summer so we can still, play with our teammates and stuff. But yeah, it was definitely devastating for sure.
All right, Lily, give a little shout out to the underclassmen. What should they maintain about Valley Tiger soccer? What in wisdom can you impart to the younger classes?
Well, I think throughout my 3 years of high school soccer at Valley, I've learned that attitude and your mentality is a huge part of not only the game, but anything you do in life. And so I think, when you're faced with challenges and obstacles, whether you're on the field or off the field, whether you're a starter or you sit on the bench, I think just keeping a positive attitude and just maintaining work ethic and just, working hard all the time, I think that will do much more for you in the future. And I think a lot of players can kind of get caught up in, oh, I'm not playing as much, I'm not doing as well, or they get nervous. I think just trying to focus on the big picture stuff and just the little things day to day can really help players.
Coach, it sounds like they've been listening to you.
Yeah, I mean, this group is special. I'm not going to lie to you, Paul. Like, from a coach's standpoint, this is the most talent I've had in 10 years. We had a incoming freshman class that was dynamite, and then this group of seniors. I mean, you get a group of seniors that some are all in, some are dedicated. These three have been all in Valley High School since day one. Whatever they to go on to do outside of soccer, they're gonna do tremendous things. To get kids that are totally focused on high school and not extracurricular activities and always making the right choices. Man, I was lucky to have these three.
Well said, Coach. Thank you. Ladies, best to you on your next endeavors, which is playing at the collegiate level, and you'll always have the Iowa girl thanks you for all you've done for soccer. Thank you, ladies. Good luck. The Ames Little Cyclones were the champions in Class 3A back in 2017. They had a 1-0 win over Valley. Coach Bobby Myers and some of the players from that squad join us now. Coach, what do you remember about 2017?
It was kind of a great season, obviously, overall with the way it all played out. And we just really had some leaders and some players where all the kind of pieces just kind of fell together, in the right way. And, the team had such good chemistry, and you matched that with the leadership and the skill we had. And, we really just, kind of came together and just gelled. And it was just really fun to be a part of, not only as, the coach, but just a fan and somebody that knows all those girls. It was just really fun.
So Grace Nelson gets the goal, but what do you remember about setting up that play, or at least getting to the championship game for that play to even happen?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a crazy experience. We hadn't been to state, in years as a school, and it was my first time going, as a coach. So all these players, it was new to a lot of us. And, we kind of came out guns blazing with the game against Cedar Rapids Kennedy, and then, a real tough out battle with Iowa City West, and going into the game against Valley. And, we just kept fighting. That's just kind of how we were the whole year. And, kept getting better, kept fighting. We all just trusted each other, and, with some different, people that were missing. And we were just able to just keep coming together. And that's where you saw that leadership and chemistry come in. And, we were just fighting against Valley, knowing how good that, they were, because we play them all the time, being in Central Iowa. And, coming off a corner kick, I believe is what kind of happened on that play. And we just turned it into a breakaway, and, ended up getting the ball to Lucy in the middle, who laid it off to Grace, who finished it off. And, that was the story of her career, and, the start of Lucy's career.
All right, Lucy, describe the play from how you remember it. Is that did Coach have it right?
Yeah, from the way I remember it, I got the ball in the middle, and I just remember dribbling up the field, dribbling until I was eventually pressured, and then I passed it to Grace, and then she slipped it right under the goalkeeper's arm.
And here comes Nelson. The shot on goal. Nelson puts it in, and Ames takes a 1-0 lead.
Do you remember anything about like the celebration?
I remember running up to Grace and her just throwing me. We met, we hugged, and she just threw me, and I don't know, but it didn't matter because we were all so excited and everything. So yeah.
Catherine Klein, you had a big smile when she started talking about the celebration. Do you remember that too?
Yeah, I totally remember it because, well, I was playing right back, and so I was a ways away from them, and I just like dead sprinted to them, and I just remember being so tired for the next like 5 or 10 minutes afterwards because I had sprinted so hard over there, and we were screaming and everything.
What about the whole state experience? I mean, when you envision in your mind as a little player, you're like, this is for the championship, but did it play out in real life as it did in your head?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, just every single day before our games, we would all get together and have team bonding. And that was probably the most important part for especially our team. Like Bobby said, we had really strong team chemistry. And so to be able to be with them for like hours before our games, I think that really helped us set up for the games.
Catherine Merchant, you were there, got to play some that year. When you're not in as regular of a role, do you feel more pressure or more nerves while the game unfolds? Like from your times that you get to go in to the times that you're not in?
I don't know. That's a tough question. I feel like it was just like, especially on that team, there was never really any like feel of like the bench and then like the starting lineup. Like there wasn't any drama there or anything. And I think that's part of the reason why we did so good, because the bench was all supportive. Like there was no one who was sitting there like upset that they're not in. And I think like that was just the feeling that I had when I got to go in was just excitement. And I was nervous, obviously, just because there were so many people watching that game. But yeah, I feel like it was mainly just excitement and just to be there was pretty nice.
And you were kind of hoping that maybe this year you were going to get a chance to be back. When you found out that there wasn't a season, what went through your mind?
A lot of tears. It was really like it was just I can't really describe it, but it just not having any closure, I feel like is the main, because we had been doing preseason for like 2 months already, and it was just like we were about to have tryouts, and then it just never happened. And we never even got the team together and like knew who was going to be on it or anything like that. And it was just I don't know. Especially like we've been waiting for like 3 years for a senior season, and yeah, to not get that is just But
Catherine Klein, do you have some of those same emotions?
Yeah, totally. I mean, our freshman year was amazing to win state. We did have a little bit of disappointment the next 2 seasons not being able to go. And I thought that was going to be like the most disappointing thing ever in my soccer career, was not going to be able to go to state. But finding out that we weren't even going to have the chance to prove ourselves one last time was just devastating.
Lucy, is this one of those life lessons that you didn't want to learn?
Oh, for sure. I think, first when I found the news, like I was just in disbelief, like, like the 5 stages of grief. I definitely had denial. And I didn't think it was real, and there were a lot of tears, but I could have been a lot happier if we had our season, for sure.
And coach, these 3, and you had a couple other seniors that were going to be on the team this year. How do you feel for them?
I mean, it's just so heart-wrenching, because like they said, like a lot of these players, you know, they go through all these trials and tribulations, all these years to finally be the seniors, to be the ones in charge, you know, to be those leaders, you know, and be able to have that sort of opportunity. It's kind of a life lesson. It's a, you know, part of how life kind of goes with everything, you know, and it's just, they didn't get to have that. And it's just so unbelievable how it just didn't happen, you know? So it's just crazy to think about, you know, they didn't get that opportunity, and then how they didn't even know they played in their last high school game, you know, because those are emotions you have when it is the last one, and they never even got to experience that. So it's just all those life lessons, you know, they didn't get a chance to learn and experience. And oh, I just feel so bad for them, but you know, they're just models of character.
And sports is supposed to be more than just the game on the field. It is some life lessons. And ladies, this is something they can't take away from you, both your season that didn't happen, but also that state championship in 2017. Ames, Little Cyclones, thank you so very much for your time, and best of luck to all of you in your next endeavors. We're going to look back at the 2019 Ankeny Hawks and their state championship in Class 3A. Coach Simon Brown and some of the seniors from this year's squad have joined us. Coach, what do you remember from last year's title?
Obviously, it's easy to say we remember the final whistle and everything that happened and the celebrations and stuff like that. They're probably the fondest memories, and they're probably the pictures that everyone remembers. For me, it was my first time coaching a high school team as a head coach at state. So I told the girls beforehand, and I remember saying it to them, that just to make sure to take in the experience of going to state. Luckily for these girls, they'd gone 2-3 years in a row. So they knew what the experience was like, but I was technically a freshman, for lack of a better term.
So were they pulling you along, or
they were? Yeah, they were, like I said before, in the sub-state final. They were all calm, and I was the nervous one. So they had to do a good job of calming me down, and they obviously did a great job. Well, like I said, I spoke to them beforehand, and what I said was make sure to take in the experience, because I'm going to do the same too, because we had a bunch of sophomores and freshmen that had never been. And I was one of those freshmen, apparently. So I was making sure to take in the experience of the whole occasion of going there and having so many teams there and competing, and being hundreds of fans there and stuff like that. And just to take in the occasion of the first day was really what stood out for me. And obviously that's probably not my honest answer, because the scenes at the end of it, where it would be honestly what I remember, but that's probably the easy answer.
You beat Waukee 1-0. Sage Adamson with the goal. You also beat Waukee 1-0 to end the regular season. So you were very familiar, and most of these girls, I'm gonna guess, probably new players on that other team too. So that familiarity, what makes it tough in a championship game?
Probably a bit of both, that we both knew each other's strengths and weaknesses, and how that was going to pan out for the first 20-30 minutes of the game, and to see if each other changed their game plan, and we didn't change anything, and I know they still played the same formation with the same people in the same place. So like I said, the game where we played them, the first game, there was nothing in it, and we scored a free kick, and they had a shot on goal at the end that Bernie had a fantastic save for, that could have easily went in. The same thing at the final. Olivia Schreier missed a one-on-one right at the start. Their keeper made a fantastic save, and we were just lucky enough to score off a corner at the very end. So there was nothing between the two teams. It was just that little bit of grit that these girls had.
Brandy, you had no worries, or Sydney for that matter, during your time in the goalkeeper spot, did you?
No, not really.
Sydney, were you ever worried?
No, not at all.
No,
it's all part of the confidence we're talking about.
Yeah. Sydney, what do you remember about state?
Honestly, it was just like all of the girls like just being so happy and positive, and just the relationship between them.
Brandy, same question. What do you remember?
The one thing I remember is the horrible blue penny and maroon socks that I had to wear during the final. That was not one of my favorite things, but that's the one that stuck with me.
Nicole, it's a little different when you go from Ankeny to Des Moines for a state event. It's not like a 4-hour or 2-hour bus ride. When it's that close, does it still feel like state to you?
Yeah, I like it so much more because we have our bus jam out sessions that are always fun, And we've all grown up playing at County Soccer Complex, so it feels just right at home.
Ashley, what do you remember? What's a little different? I know 19's a state championship, 18's a runner-up, and it's to that team to the north of you. So was that a motivation, what happened in 18 into 19?
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was going to happen again in 19, but not. But 18, it was kind of heartbreaking because we had a lot of players that were going off to college, and even last year we had a lot of players going off to college. So it was more of playing for the seniors and the people that we've been playing with for almost all our lives. I mean, we've all basically played for the same club except for a few. So playing together and for everyone, and having a heartbreaking loss in the 18 season, it really puts into perspective of what you can accomplish. Getting to the runner-up position was something that's really good. And in the 19 season, we used that kind of fire that was left after losing. And, I think that's kind of a competitive edge that's instilled in everyone, is, especially myself, is once you lose, you got to work back and get a win out of it. If you get a loss somewhere along the line, you have to make something out of it. And I think that we did a really good job of that this year. Was we took that loss and we kind of lit it, and we were on fire the whole state tournament, and we used that, and we ended up with a win. And it was just true grit that kind of helped us through that.
I don't know, Ashley, if you could see your teammates during your answer. They were all smiling and nodding, all in agreement. It was kind of funny. Paige was smiling. The head started going. Brenny, why'd you smile when Ashley was talking?
Honestly, I think Ashley is a great embodiment of the Hawk way. She was always the one who was so laser focused during warm ups, and you always knew she would get the job done. So I thought that was a really good answer from her.
Paige, same thing. It looked like you were agreeing too quite a bit.
She kind of just took us through from 2018 to 19, and those memories coming back of a fresh start and a reason to keep playing. And especially when she said true grit, that was something we would say every once in a while that got us going.
Nicole, give us a little bit of a shout out to the other seniors in 19 that were key parts.
Yeah, IGHSAU was a huge part in the back. She had great stops. And she would always dribble the ball up and give options to the other girls that helped with our success. I think Allie Klosterman was coming up from the junior varsity, hoping to get a shot this year, and she was really looking forward to it, like we all were. So, yeah, those are the two.
Brenny, when you found out 2020 wasn't going to happen as a season, what was the emotion?
Heartbroken, we had a lot of young girls who were ready to come play and defend that title, but that's kind of how that one went, and we'll get over it, I guess. I just going to state champs, just carry that over from the 19.
Paige, were you bummed?
Oh yeah, I was so bummed. Our team did a really good job of focusing on going open gym and doing hot yoga, team bonding, really laid out a strong schedule to bounce back with, and just staying on our toes until the final call came that it wasn't able to happen.
Sydney, was it disappointing to not have a season?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you going to remember, what are you trying to remember more, the season that did not happen or the seasons that did happen?
Well, for me, it's the season that did happen, because we all got a lot better, and we all formed a whole bunch of relationships, and just the bond of the team was incredible.
All right, Ashley, you get to play. So do many of you get to play at that next level. Does that soften some of the blow of not getting a chance to do one last lap?
I would say so, in a sense of I'm going to play soccer again in a competitive level. And I feel bad for the people that aren't going on to the next level because they had a hope of playing their senior season, their last season, going out with a bang for playing their last high school or soccer career years. And you spend so much time and effort in one sport, and you're passionate about it, and all of a sudden it's just taken away from you and you can't do anything about it. And it's almost heartbreaking and it's sad, but I mean, it is what it is. It's life. It hits you, and you just got to deal with it at some point. So I'm fortunate enough to be able to play the next level, and I'm looking forward to it. But I wish that I could have been with those girls one last time so that we could have gone out with a bang together.
Coach, what was your message to the girls when you had to tell them?
I probably had a Zoom call too early when we found out about the Governor Reynolds thing at 11. I spoke to a couple of girls right after, and then we had a meeting that evening. I had a couple of hours to try to put some words together. I probably should have spent a day or two thinking about what I was going to say, but it was just the raw emotion that everyone else was feeling. And it was probably the same as the other girls and every other spring sport, senior and junior, whatever, throughout the state, was just that the loneliness of being on your own and not having a game, or not having, like these girls love so much, the bus rides and that camaraderie. So I specifically remember the loneliness of finding out in my office here that we weren't going to get to play, and trying to reach out to these girls as much as possible to try get together one last time and try just see how they were and just give some sort of positive message.
Well, thank you, Coach. And the Ankeny Hawks class 3A champions in 2019. Guess what, ladies? You still are the defending champions in Class 3A, right? Congratulations, thank you, and best of luck to you moving forward. Coach Chris Allen of the Centennial Jaguars joins us now here. We thank you for taking time. Coach, let's recap 2018. You were the 3A champions that year. 3-2 win over Ankeny. I know it's been a little bit, but what do you remember about that championship?
I remember a lot of it. A lot of the alumni and I like to relive that a little bit when we have a chance to. But the first impression was just the two contrast in the two Ankeny schools and kind of the approach to the championship upon entry. Our team kind of sat down and huddled together, and we really spent some time honoring those seniors of the 2018 team that year. So all the sophomores, all the seniors that are here with us today were sophomores on that team, so they had the chance to experience that. And it was a bit emotional. So we walked in, and the team was already crying as we took the field, a lot of us, versus Ankeny, who really kind of showed up like they owned the place. And like, credit to them, they had a mentality that the field was theirs, and just a lot of confidence to their approach to taking the field before the game started. So that was one of the first memories that I have of that.
And Ankeny actually scored first in that game, if I remember correctly. And then Megan Gray came back, and then Kenzie Geiger had a couple of goals. All of a sudden, you got a 2-1 lead. Were you nervous then?
After they scored that first goal, it actually calmed my nerves as a coach down a bit. I don't know that it did to the players. And I'm not talking about ours, Ankeny's, because Ankeny came out and gave us a different look. They were very aggressive. They put forwards up high, pretty much marking our center backs. And that was a key to our play, was building through our defense. And they made it very difficult to do that. And after they scored the goal, they settled into something that was more familiar to us. And then we were able to take advantage of some of those wide spaces. And yeah, Megan Gray's PK came from attacking from the left into towards the center of the goal, and Kenzie Geiger's came in from attacking right in towards the center of the goal. So the game plan started actually to fall into place a little bit better after they scored that first goal. And then, yeah, it felt great, of course, after we were up 2-1.
And they might have an opportunity here. Geiger towards the net. Geiger, goal! How about that? Kenzie Geiger from the point.
Carly, you're standing there watching this game. What's going through your mind as you're there watching this?
Well, as we started like coming back after we were down 1-0, I started to gain more confidence. I knew that we could finish the game off once we started to get on a roll, so that was a kind of a confidence builder for me.
Hannah, was being at that state championship level, was that something did it meet your expectations of what you thought it would be, Hannah?
It was so much more. Like, you grow up thinking about high school, playing high school soccer, and you just never imagine, like, the stands were packed, like, everyone was there watching because it was Ankeny. It was so cool to be there.
JC, it's Ankeny. You know, that's one of those things that you talk about in town a lot. Does that make it a little extra special that you beat your rival for the title?
100%. You kind of have a little chip on your shoulder after that.
it's definitely something that like I want to talk about the rest of my life, and it kind of goes down in history. I've never seen so many people at a soccer game in my life, and so definitely something that I want to tell my kids about someday. Like I think that'll go down in history.
Miranda, you haven't forgotten about that weekend, have you? I'm looking over your shoulder and it says State Soccer 2019. So you do remember things just a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Soccer is a big part of my life.
Do you think in that season, go back to that 2018 campaign, was there a part in that season where you felt we're really good and we're in position to make a run at the end?
Yeah, I think our like we won a lot of games and like we started building a lot of momentum, and personally I gained a lot of personal momentum, so I think that was like really helpful towards our goals for that season.
What I guess I'll open this up to any of you. Do you of course you want to have, you're all seniors now, you were sophomores at that time, are any of you thinking, golly, I'd say show of hands, everybody wanted to be back this year, right? You all wanted to go back. Everybody wanted to be there and take part in that. So are you glad that you have these memories, Carly, to pull on and to know at least you had that to take a little bit of that bittersweet of not being able to compete in 2020?
Yeah, I think being a sophomore that year, it was actually one of the like best years to be a sophomore, I think, because we had 2 more years to like reach after the goal again. And obviously last year we didn't quite get there, but we thought that this year would be like our year and we knew that we could do it. But obviously that didn't happen, but I guess we always have 2018 to like remember about.
Hannah, what were you hoping to do this year?
Win a state championship. Ultimately, that was like the ultimate goal.
Yeah, that was same for you, JC.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and it was amazing, and it was such a great sophomore year, and I really wanted to get out there and actually give the underclassmen the same experience that we received our sophomore year, because that ultimately is what made the year for me, is what made me come back. And so I wish that we could have given the freshmen that experience, the sophomores, and even the juniors. So I definitely wanted to play for them, but I'm excited to come back and watch them next year win a championship.
Miranda, kind of an abrupt end to things. Do you kind of feel the way JC does, or do you have a different view of life?
I think I was just really grateful for that season because our seniors that year were like the best leadership team we've ever had. They were diehard about this team for us. Like some of the players were crying before the season even started because they wanted to win so badly. And I think that's what brought us to that goal at the end. So yeah, I wish we could have done that for them.
Coach, I know you always kind of bring the alumni back and the underclassmen into the fold. You kind of talked about it to start. Are you going to have to do something special or different to get this group of seniors next year, or somehow keep them connected moving forward?
I think so. I think we have to be really reflective on that. We lose a lot of our legacy, and that could have been passed on through these 4 players. But I know also that they've done wonderful with the kids that have been in our program. Our underclassmen already look to our seniors, and even though they didn't get a chance to take the field with them, they talk about our seniors quite a bit. I've had freshmen email me, "Hey, can we do this for the seniors? Can we do?" So they've already done something to leave their mark on our program with players who never had the chance to really take the field with them. But yeah, we'll definitely. I mean, we lose a group of seniors who could have passed on our traditions, once the season rolled around. And we'll really have, 2 age groups that will join us next season that never played in the program, with the freshmen who didn't get to play this year, and then, of course, the incoming freshmen. So there's our history and our legacies are important to us, and we'll have to work ways to build those in so that people understand what they're playing for and what they're a part of.
All right, Hannah Haran, Carly Jensen, JC Hall, Miranda Wood, and Coach Chris Allen, thank you all so much. Congratulations. I'm glad we could celebrate 2018, and I know it was a little bittersweet about 2020, but you all had great careers. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
The Bishop Heelan Crusaders are no strangers to state tournaments, whether it's in basketball or in soccer. Runners-up in 2018, hoping to make a good run in 2020, but this is why we're here. We're going to discuss the year that was 2018. Coach Clark, Charleston is with us. And Coach, what do you remember about that run there in 18?
2018 was a very interesting year for us. We started the season trying to get to know each other at first, understanding our personalities and the balance we had on the team. We had some adversity early on. I could remember we had some key players getting hurt. And towards the end of the season, that team really got together and we made a beautiful run at the end of the season. So it was really exciting because we knew those girls were going to be part of the program for an extra 2-3 years. So that was something that really got us excited, the potential in the long run. So it's a little bit disappointing that those girls don't get to compete this year. But I do remember that year was really fun, really exciting.
Caitlin, it was the championship game wasn't quite what anybody wants to remember, but what do you remember about that state run and maybe the championship game itself?
My experience was a little bit different because I was on the sideline with an ACL injury. But it was a really cool experience to watch my best friends out there making a great run and really just competing with the best in the state. So it was really fun to cheer them on from the side.
Do you get nervous when you're not playing or more nervous when you're playing?
I wouldn't say nervous. I'd just say kind of anxious, a little fidgety, kind of need to be moving around. And I definitely would give anything or would have given anything to be out there with them, but that's not how it worked out. So they did great, though. It was awesome to be there.
Sydney, you were out there for that season. What do you recall?
It was really fun. I remember I started the season as a forward and then all the injuries happening. Clark's like, "You're a defender." I was like, okay, I guess I'm a defender now. And yeah, just a lot of people had to step up and play positions that they weren't used to, but it was really fun. And yeah.
It was Amber or Katie. Does anything stick out specifically for you at the state tournament?
I think we kind of surprised ourselves a little bit and maybe made it farther than we thought we could have. I think we knew we had it in us, but being able to make it that far, obviously I'd never been to state in soccer yet, so it was just a really cool experience as a whole.
Katie,
I think it was really cool.
Go ahead, Katie. Sorry.
To see a lot of freshmen step up, they really did really good when they had to, and it was good to see.
Katie, what's special about this group of four here? I mean, you've had some very good success in lots of sports.
Yeah, we've been playing together since second grade in all of our sports. So it's kind of bittersweet to not get that last season together, but it's good to have all the memories from so long.
Katie, what was the emotion when you found out there wasn't going to be a season?
I was really sad because I thought we still had one season together, and that would have been a good closure for us. But now I think there's a bigger picture, and we're all kind of getting through it.
And Amber, you had one pink T-shirt from basketball. You were probably hoping for a second one with soccer.
Yeah, for sure. I think this season would have been good for us, and I think we all had high hopes coming into it. So, I don't know. I know that they'll do great next year, and I know they're all really looking forward to the season, so I'm happy for them.
Sydney, right behind your head, we saw before we started recording, you've got the memorabilia from the Union. What is special about that stuff?
I think it's just something that a lot of people would take for granted. Not every school gets to go to state, so it's really special that we got to go in so many different sports in so many different years. So.
And Caitlin, knowing that you had the injury and that there was going to be this one last run, mixed emotions there. I mean, how do you put it all into perspective?
Yeah, I'm definitely grateful to have my junior season be able to play because, we didn't see this coming, and it's just kind of sad to just know that you won't get your last season, and we didn't even get a practice in. So it was sad to know that, it's kind of over. So.
And Clark, you've moved on to a different program, to the collegiate level, but when you can still look back, it looks like you've got a connection with these young ladies, because they were kind of giving you a little bit of a hard time, and that means you've fit into their lives and you'll always be a fabric. Have you taken that experience with you for the future?
Oh, for sure. I think for me, being a young coach, that was my first coaching experience as well as a head coach. So those girls really shaped me, taught me a lot about myself. So I didn't take that for granted. And they know that, and I tell them that all the time. The experience was amazing. The life lesson we learned. We smiled together. We cried. So for me, they always know that I'm always in their corner. You know, they went to basketball tournament. You know, I'm supporting. I was very eager to see them at the state tournament this year, because I feel like I wouldn't be wearing any coaching gear. I'll be more like a fan. I could scream, yell at the ref, whatever I like. So I was looking forward to that. But yeah, those four, they do have a special bond and a special connection. And I think when the rest of the teams feel that positive energy, that really bring the rest of the group together.
All right, Bishop Hill and the Crusaders. Ladies, thank you so very much. Best of luck to you in the next parts of your lives. It is hard to find a team that had as much success as Waverly Shell Rock in 2018 and 19. And in Class 2A in 2019, they had a heartbreaking loss in the championship game, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and also the season that happened. The Go Hawks from Waverly Shell Rock are here. And Coach Greiner, I'll start with you. When you think about that match and that weekend, what comes to mind first?
We just fell a little short. As you know, we've been chasing this title for a lot of years here at Waverly, and we've had a lot of experience at the state tournament, but we haven't had the opportunity to bring home a title yet. And we've been so close, especially the last couple of years, and we just really wish we would have had this year to capitalize on that.
Danny, you had an overtime win against Lewis Central in the first round, and then a close game against DCG in the second round. What'd that say about your team that they were able to persevere in those close games?
It just shows how much heart our girls really have for this game, and you know how strong they can push through adversity through those times.
Cameron, I guess I'll ask you, what do you remember about your state experience?
I remember everything between, you know, like the send-off and just spending time with my teammates in the hotel, going out to eat, everything like that. But so, you know, like the entire experience was just so much fun for all of us. But obviously those games are really exciting and super fun to play in.
Julia, when you got to the finals, were you tired?
Well, I actually tore my ACL, so I was on the bench.
But you still get tired watching that type of a game.
I was tired on the bench. I was all sweaty and nervous for them.
To not get out there, what made that kind of hard for you?
It was pretty hard just because I knew that we had a really good chance that year, and not being able to play was really hard, especially because I was finally getting to play with my sister alongside me, both of us on the field, but it's okay.
Michaela, it's fun to play with your sister, not just drive her nuts on regular days, but play soccer with her, right?
Yeah, it's fun. We fight sometimes, and everybody knows that, but it's fun.
You're not the first set of sisters where that's happened. Don't you worry about that. What do you remember, Michaela, about the experience in either 18 or 19?
Well, 18 was a very, very good year for us. We went undefeated all until the championship game, which that was a lot of fun. And last year we were really close, having one loss, but I don't know. It was all really fun.
Goal for Waverly Shell Rock.
We, as a team, were so close, and I think that just helped us push through all the state games and being so close in the games.
Elizabeth, did you keep all of the goodies and things that the union gave you from that weekend?
Oh yeah, I have like all the soccer balls like lined up behind me that you could probably see if I didn't. Oh
well, we got the
gosh,
Go Hawk behind you. There's this big hawk. Don't worry about it. Well, that's all right. But you remember it, Gabby. Same with you. I mean, is it the physical memories that are going to hold you, or is it more of the teammate thing?
I think it's more the teammate thing for me. Just it's so much fun being around the whole team, just with everyone there, and being on the field with them is also a lot of fun because we're so close. Off the field, it just makes on the field even better.
And Gabby, when you got the news that there wasn't going to be a season this year, what was going through your mind?
I was obviously really disappointed. I felt like this year was probably going to be like our best year yet, even with being almost undefeated sophomore year.
Here's a shot that's going to be hauled in by Berman.
Obviously, I was really disappointed that I didn't get to play with them again.
Elizabeth, when you found out that there wasn't going to be a season, what did it hurt?
Yeah, it did. I mean, funny story. I found out in the middle of my college math final that I was taking. Like, I could hear the TV on, and I heard the, schools canceled, all of that. So I was like, oh my gosh, I still have an hour left. I need to focus on this. But yeah, after that, it really set in, and I was pretty upset.
And Michaela, I mean, it's something that, again, you didn't get to play one last time with your sister, or your teammates for that matter. It's not just about family; it's your extended family.
Yeah, it was. I had just woken up and I found out, and it was pretty heart crushing, working so hard in the off season and then not having it. Yeah, it was pretty sad.
And Julia, knowing that the season didn't happen, is there anything that you're going to hold on to? I mean, a little bit of frustration knowing that you didn't even get to play after the injury?
Yeah, a little bit. I was really excited to come back out for one last season because I'm not going to play in college. So I was really hoping for the high school season to go well and that we finally would win that championship.
So, Cameron, are you going to have to watch the Go Hawks next year and just pull for them and know that that's my team, that's what's left of my team?
Yeah, I'm obviously going to be rooting for them a lot because I kind of think that next year they'll also the juniors and the sophomores also I said that a lot, sorry. They will also realize that if they find success, then they'll also be doing it for us because we didn't have the opportunity to do it. And I know that they're going to have a lot of really good leadership and talent. So I think they will be successful. And I'll obviously, be supporting them and watching them from the sidelines.
And Danny, as a coach, when you say every game could be your last, I mean, now the other girls are going to have to buy into that.
Absolutely.
And when you have a team that doesn't get to play, and then you've got these underclassmen that they didn't have those seniors to learn from, how hard is that going to be for next year?
We have some really strong seniors, but along with those strong seniors, we have really strong underclassmen as well. And I know that they will take the role of these seniors very well, and they've learned from these seniors. So I believe that, following this group of kids will do well still.
And Lauren, Coach, do you have, will this offseason be a weird one?
I think it just kind of breaks our hearts as all of these seniors can speak. These girls have put in so much time and effort over the past years, especially this past off season. They've spent countless hours in the weight room, in the gym, training, playing, all of those different things. So I definitely, as much as we're going to miss that, they have set the path and paved the way for these underclassmen to know exactly what it should look like next off season, in hopes that we can continue the momentum that we've had for the last few years and keep pushing forward. And we can't thank this group of seniors enough. They put in so much time and effort to our program. Their literal blood, sweat, and tears. And we just wish we could have had one more go with them.
Well, I appreciate all your time, and best of luck, ladies, in your next adventure. And just know that you had a great high school career and a heck of a story to end it. Thank you so much, Waverly Shell Rock. It wasn't really a state soccer tournament without this team. The Lewis Central Titans have been mainstays at County Park. And part of the reason, Chris Van Mondy is the head coach of Lewis Central. And coach, this squad has been on quite a run, and these players that we're going to hear from here in a moment are a big part of it. Let's start with 18. I know you also won it in 17, but that was a 1-0 win over Waverly Shell Rock.
Lewis Central going for their third straight state title. Waverly Shell Rock for their first.
What do you remember about that 18 tournament?
That was one of the toughest teams we've ever played. And I think the biggest part of it was that our defense was really strong. And And if you look through the whole run we had there, we didn't give up a goal. So that's really great for our defensive backs and even the forwards doing their job too. So
We'll give some of the shout outs to the defensive players because, we always talk about those who score goals. Who are your good defenders?
well, we usually use Rachel to mark one of their key players. And again, other times there's going to be chances where players get by her. Well, then like Bella would be cleaning up, or Hadley would. And they were all senior, they were all freshmen at the time. So to try to shut down that many teams and not give up a goal is great for a state championship.
And you did get a championship goal from Melissa in that final. What do you remember about that goal?
It was tough towards the end. I remember it being out the outside, and then the ball came back to her, and she just side netted it. Just a perfect touch.
Now here's a blast, and this is going to get in! A goal for Lewis Central!
And that's one of those things, too, in a state tournament. You're going to have players that are going to be trying to double Grace and our other forwards. So, at some point, someone else has to step up and put a ball in the net, and she did.
In 17, you're also in a close game. That was a 2-1 win over Union. You had Susie McDonald and Michaela both have scores for you. What do you remember about 2017, Coach?
Probably the ending towards the game when we had gotten the PK. Susie was our PK taker. But she was on the sideline getting a break. So then we figured Grace was wore out and Kelsey. So then we ended up having Michaela McCart, who we call Magoo. She really wanted to take the PK.
The kick, it's up and will go in. Whoa, she found the left post, just snuck it in. And McCart.
We would do PKs for most of the players, and she was one of the ones that was pretty good at it. But Susie was usually going to be the one. So Magoo stepped up and did quite a great PK.
All right, Grace. So Coach has given you a lot of compliments there. Are they warranted?
I mean, of course they are, but it was a team effort. It really was. Like, even though I was the goal scorer, just like he said, defense, the midfielders, everybody incorporated into it. And it was ultimately just our whole team working as a team and getting the thing done.
What do you remember about either of those teams, 17, 18, or even 19?
I remember in 18, the championship game, that I was like quadruple teamed. Like, I could barely get the ball, and whenever I got the ball, I was sandwiched and couldn't get away. Like, I'd lose the ball right away. So it was like kind of a thing where I couldn't turn with the ball, so I had to just play it off really quick. And it made it very hard for everybody to move up and for me to hold the ball up for them. So it was a tough one for sure. It was not easy.
So that means one of these teammates is going to be open then. Who are you looking for? Or are you just trying to get rid of the ball to any of these other girls?
I mean, I don't even remember really. If I'm going to be honest, I knew that Rachel was always there and Milena was right there in the middle, or I could flick it out wide to Gracie, but I don't really remember.
Milena, did you have to come rescue Grace there on occasion? Rescue is a tough word.
Yeah, sometimes.
What do you remember about some of that defensive alignment that you guys were having to overcome?
Well, we definitely had to be really strong, but I think we all really trusted our back line, and they were strong no matter what. Each game, they came out, did their best, and really saved us a lot. So.
It's kind of fun. Rachel, Grace was talking about you as well. What do you remember about any of those state tournaments?
Well, I remember the championship against Waverly Shell Rock, and after we had our goal, then they were just gunning and gunning. Everyone was like moving positions, trying to defend. And then we also had, like, every time I got beat, obviously I knew Bella and Hadley were going to be there. And then we also had Maddie Parks for our keeper. And
Yeah, I just remember like I was kind of nervous, like because I got moved back to like wing defense, and I never really played that, but just trying to mark all their like fast players, and I'm not the fastest either, so but yeah.
Hadley, what do you remember? Do you remember the pink shirts that you're given?
Oh, for sure. I'll never forget the pink shirts. Those are legendary. Um, the thing that I remember the most would be freshman year, just because that was insane to me. Like as a freshman, like even playing as a freshman was crazy to think of, but then being able to be a part of like a championship game and then winning and then grabbing the pink shirt was insane.
Which shirt means more to you, 17 or 18?
Probably 17, because I would have never thought freshman year that we would have been a part of a championship team. So just like the first.
Gracie, I mean, you look back and you listen to everybody's response to this. So I'll give you a new question. How about that? What do you remember about the squad off the field? What are you like off the field, and what are those memories that you'll take with you?
I mean, for us seniors, it was completely different just because we have played with each other our entire lives. We have been part of club teams together, and it was just like we finally came back together and won together again. So that was fun.
I'm guessing you would like to have repeated it in 20 for that experience. What was the off season like, knowing you'd had the 2 titles and then came up short, and then this is the last run? What was the off season like getting ready for 2020?
Well, once we found out that Bella and Grace were coming back, it was like we were super excited to have our team like where we had won it the year before, and our preseason was a lot harder than it was the years before. We'd have it before and after school, so that was just something we had to look forward to.
Grace, when you find out that you're not going to have that season and you had that season away, what was it, or at least that prep and the off season? You put a lot of work in to get ready for a campaign, don't you?
We absolutely did. Every morning at 6:30 a.m. we would meet and we would lift in the morning, and we'd do circuits and we'd all work out. It was usually just the seniors and the freshmen, the newcomers that were coming in, but all of us were very hard workers and really wanted to have our last shot. We'd work out before school and after school and go on runs and go to the field together whenever the weather was nice, but we really did work really hard because we were expecting to have that.
Yeah. Bella, disappointment when you didn't have the senior year?
Yeah, I was really disappointed, especially since we didn't get to play that junior year, but it's all right.
Hadley, when you found out from coach that there wasn't going to be a season, what was your emotion?
I think I cried the rest of the day. But once I came to realization, I was super thankful for what we had already done. So I'm just glad that we got to make the impact that we did.
It's going to be hard to redo the impact that all of you have had on this program, that's for sure. Milena, again, same question, but do you have a different response to it?
I think it was really hard. It was really hard because I knew how strong the 2020 class was, and not even just for soccer, just for all sports. We were a really big class, and there's a lot of talent to give, and it sucked that we couldn't use it for our last year.
Rachel, as you've had a little bit of time to kind of process what's happened, has any of your response changed and how you view the season that didn't happen?
Kind of going off what Hadley said, I was thankful for what we did have and realized that like not a lot of people even get the chance to go to state, and we went there every year and then we won it twice. So that was kind of a big accomplishment for us, and we can always hold that, like that, nothing can take that away from us. But yeah, it was kind of a bum deal.
Coach, was that one of the hardest things you've had to do, is tell the team there's going to be no season?
Yeah, once we said it, I did shed some tears too, because mainly for them, because I know we knew we were going to have a great team at that time, and when it was all pulled away because of the virus, unfortunately, You know, it was tough. I know it was tough for all of them, and we were so excited before that. And, you know, there came the big fall that it wasn't going to happen. We wouldn't get a chance to get another state tournament, but they've done so much for the program. That's why we've had such success. I mean, as young freshmen starting in five of them started in matches and probably brought 2 or 3 of them off the bench. So they've, from freshmen on, it just got better and better. So.
And they have 2 pink shirts to remember. I know that's a little bit of a consolation and a great round of memories. Ladies from Lewis Central, congratulations on your run and the time, and best of luck to you in your next endeavors. In 2019, the Class 3A State Soccer Championship featured Ankeny and this team, the Waukee Warriors. Tony Gabriel's head coach of that squad joins us now. Coach, it was a close battle, 1-0. They got you earlier on in the season. You get them again. You knew a lot about that Ankeny team. What do you remember from that championship game?
It was hot. I remember it was hot. Yeah, I mean, all things considered, it's a tough opponent, very well organized, but then throw in the factors of 3 games in 3 days and the heat on top of that. I remember like it was yesterday, to be honest with you. It's a challenge that we were ready for. This was something the program has wanted to do. We, since 2011, not been to the state championship game, and making it there was job number 1. So we knew it was a tough battle. The biggest thing from a preparation standpoint, ice, hydrate, nutrition, that was all factors that going in the state tournament we had to touch on. So that Friday night win in a double overtime in the semifinal, it was get back to business, take care of our bodies, and be ready for that championship match.
You get by Pleasant Valley in the opening round, then Centennial, as you said there. That was on penalty kicks. What was the makeup of that team senior-wise that year that got you to the point to be in the title?
The experience, really, being there before, just knowing how grueling the test is at the state tournament. Those leaders, we had 9 senior starters. That great leaders, and these girls will attest to that. But being there, nothing really leads the team more than just the experience of being there before and being able to hand that down to your teammates. But I think the girls handled it really well. But they played together for 10 years, the core of that group. So that senior class was very experienced and very knowledgeable about what we had to do.
Rosemary, when you look back here almost a year after the fact, what stands out to you from that state tournament experience?
Well, like, it was like overall we really wanted to win, because especially coming from like the year before that when we lost to them, it was just like very encouraging, and we wanted to work hard and like not have history repeat itself, and we wanted to work hard and get to the finals this time.
It is, Grace, it is quite a run that this squad has had, 8 out of 9 years in the state tournament going into 2019. So do you ever feel that tradition on your shoulder a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I remember all of our freshman year, we didn't actually make it to the state tournament. And I think that's what really set the tone for us. We didn't want to ever have to feel that way again. So from our freshman year, we really wanted to win a championship. And with us being seniors this year, I think we really wanted to like achieve that after last year, getting so close, but not winning it all.
Kelly, you heard Coach mention the heat. Do you remember the heat that day?
Yes, I remember it being very hot, and actually on the sidelines we had some like gummy bears, and that was kind of like some quick sugar in between when we took breaks and stuff. There was a ton of water. It was, when you got the breaks to get in the shade, we had towels like filled with ice, and that was on everyone's neck, and it was just kind of cool down and get refreshed as quick as you can and get back out there. So
Grace, you just mentioned there a moment ago about what you were trying to accomplish this year. What's the biggest couple of words about you had those goals, you wanted to move forward, and then just didn't quite get a chance to try to live them out.
Yeah, I feel like we really just wanted to come together this year. We did lose a lot of seniors last year, but I felt that we really could still come together and achieve what we wanted because we did all support each other so much and worked together as a team so well that it was just something that we really felt that we could come together and succeed.
Rosemary, when you found out that you weren't going to have a season this year, what was the emotion you had?
Well, obviously I was really sad because we've been putting in work since like I want to say like December-ish, like for the open gyms and then like lifting and conditioning. I was very sad, but I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. So I'm just like trying to stay positive and work on my like next goal, which is college soccer.
Kelly, have you been able to stay that positive and optimistic?
Yeah, it was definitely a bummer at first. We've been working since December, November, just kind of getting to where we are now, and then getting cut off right before the season started was really a bummer. But it's kind of moving on to the next thing. Tony's still holding, well, the girls are still holding kind of little sessions that we do in the afternoon to still kind of get to work together, Zoom calls to do workouts, which is nice. And it's just kind of working forward towards the next thing, which for me as well is college soccer.
Coach, how do you keep this squad that didn't get a chance to have a season maybe involved moving forward here as you turn the page to 2021?
We're still on the same mindset of we just have unfinished business. We got a taste of the glory, but we didn't get to experience all of it. So there's some girls returning that are part of that 2019 squad that were right there, right with us. And that's what their goal is now. But keeping them in shape, this is what they know, that, you know, they want to stay in shape. They want to play soccer, so they want to get touches on the ball. They all have club season to prepare for too. So they're motivated. It's great to see that, you know, they don't need a coach all the time to keep them working hard. They want to do it. They want to get better.
Hopefully we're talking to you at County Complex next spring. Thank you very much, Waukee Warriors. Congratulations on your great run there, and good luck to you in your next endeavors. Class 2A in 2019 could not finish in regulation. We had to go to overtime, and here are your champions, the Cedar Rapids Xavier Saints, and they are here and smiling because they are still the defending champs in Class 2A. Coach Chris Higgins is here. Coach, what do you remember about that tournament last year?
I mean, it was kind of like a whirlwind because it's the first time we ever actually got by the first round. So everything was kind of new to us at the time. And we're just kind of taking every new obstacle that came our way on board. I remember it being really, really hot. I remember it being really long days. And then it just kind of capitulated into one big kind of blurry, emotional state championship game at the end. So it's kind of, I had to watch it back a few times to kind of remember stuff because it kind of all just blended into 1 week. But it was just an awesome time and an awesome experience. And then it was just a great way to kind of to win it. If you're going to win it, you want to win it and kind of with a golden goal, you know.
Your first goal, you struck first in that. What do you remember?
Well, actually, it was just kind of confusing because it was one of those ones where we didn't know if it crossed the line or not. The ball crossed the line. So it was just a bit confusing at the time. And then the girls were kind of like half celebrating, half not celebrating. And then it wasn't until the referee ran back to the center circle that we actually knew that we scored the goal. So it was just, it was kind of a surreal moment when we got that first goal, but it kind of took the pressure off us a little bit. So we were happy at the same time.
Quinn, what do you remember about the second goal?
I remember, was the second goal the last one?
Yeah, the one that won it.
I remember dribbling into the corner and then just kind of cutting it back to Ella and then just watching her take the shot. And I was like, no way, that's it. And then just like screaming and running towards her.
Xavier wins the Class 2A state championship.
Sarah, was it kind of exciting to see?
Yeah, it was awesome. I think someone threw our Skittles leg in the air, and then we just ran on the field and did a dog pile and stuff. So it was a great moment.
And Grace, you've been smiling through all of this when you've been hearing all these stories. Does this bring back good memories?
Yeah, I jumped the highest I've ever jumped in my life when the goal was scored, and then coach gave me a hug. We like ran into the middle, and it was really cool.
Paige, what do you recall? I mean, coach said it was hot that day. Do you remember the heat or the celebration more?
Both. I was definitely, it was one of the hottest days, especially to play soccer. But once Ella scored, it like took a moment for me to like realize that it actually went in and we won. And then running out on the field was just like the best feeling in the world.
Sophie, this celebration, you're all in the pink shirts. The union gives you those. Do you still have, where is your championship shirt from last year?
It's actually in my room downstairs.
Do you hold on to that one? Is it kind of special?
Yeah.
Why?
Because winning state was one of the best days of my life, and it's something that I'll never forget, so it's really special to me.
Caitlin, is soccer fun, and winning a state title make it even more fun, or just getting out on the pitch is fun for you?
Yeah, I love playing soccer, and we had such a good team that it made it that much better. And of course, winning a state championship was awesome. So yeah.
What was special about that team?
We just really played well together, and we had fun with each other off the court. Like the night before the state championship game, like we were up telling like scary stories like before we went to bed. Like we just enjoy being around each other.
All right, I have to ask, who tells the best, scariest story?
I don't know. Everyone had quite a few to share. Like some of the girls were scared to go back to the room. We had to check rooms.
Sophie, this year when you didn't get a chance to defend, when you found out that there wasn't going to be a season and you couldn't get a chance to relive that great moment, what was going through your mind?
Well, the day that the governor said that like we couldn't go back to school or whatever, the day that like I woke up that morning and my brother had texted me, my dad texted me, and then I cried because I knew that like we wouldn't be able to play again.
Did anybody else have that same reaction? Grace, yeah, Paige, you're all kind of the same way. Grace, what was your reaction?
I was just really sad because I really liked the team atmosphere, and like everyone like worked really well together, and everyone just had like a good bond, and I was just really sad that I wouldn't be able to like spend another season with my team again.
Paige, but it's still a pretty good memory to finish on a win like that, and you didn't have to sweat as much. It wasn't as hot the second time through.
True. Yeah, it was just definitely upsetting when I found out, because it was just being a part of such an amazing team was like really been a blessing, and I really missed like playing with all of them. Like practices were super fun, and like just like games were so fun to watch.
Quinn, what are you going to remember about this group of teammates?
Just the memories that we have off the field, honestly. Like riding around in somebody's truck, like in the back of it, just like listening to music, hanging out with my friends that are also my teammates. So it just worked. Our chemistry was great, and I'll never forget that.
Sarah, did somebody show you all how to do that great chemistry, or how did it all develop?
I think it's just like once you get like a good group of girls together, sometimes it just happens naturally. Where it's like there's like a respect that everyone has for each other, but also that level of fun, you know, and laughter that they bring. So kind of just kind of flowed together really well this season. Well, last season, but yeah.
All right, Coach, final question here. I hope you don't have to do a difficult telling of a team like you did this year, but how did they take it, and how do you think this makes changes their lives and puts some things into perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I was gutted when, you know, I first heard the season was getting cancelled. I was really hoping that we could maybe push it back an extra month, but I'm connected with this group that we've got on here because my first year at Xavier was their freshman year. So like we kind of went on this journey together, and we've overcame obstacles. We've kind of progressed every year. And like the girl said about the chemistry, like we had a really talented team last year, but the biggest thing was the chemistry. So not being able to defend the title and not being able to just be around their friends and have good experiences that they had last year. Like I was more gutted about that than actually playing, if that makes sense, because they deserve better than what the situation is right now.
But as I said in the beginning, you're all still defending champions. Ladies, thank you so very much for your time. Congratulations on a great season and great careers, and best of luck to all of you moving forward. The North Polk Comets had made 3 straight state soccer tournament appearances, and in 2019 they were in the finals against Davenport Assumption. Joining us now to talk about the team, some of the North Polk Comets. Coach, what do you remember about that game? I mean, we all know Assumption has just been on quite a roll, but you gave them a heck of a game. What do you remember from last year?
What I remember from last year, all I can think of is how proud I am of these girls to make it this far, especially transitioning with a new coach and still progressing from the years past from what they accomplished at state, and to be able to be at the finals, lose 1-0 to a great team that I know has been a dominant force in the 1A class. So just being there and having that experience with these girls and how much effort that they gave Assumption was just amazing.
You've coached in the collegiate level, you've played at that level. How do you tell a team to not look at that other squad and be intimidated?
It's one of those things where you always play against opponents that are going to be better than you, but you just got to show what you have progressed and what you've done, what you've accomplished. We've been preparing every day at practice for those kind of moments to show other people what we are made of. And it's just one of those things we just instill that passion and make sure that we're having fun out there, not dwelling on, oh my goodness, they're like one of the number 1 teams. No, it's more of this is who we are. This is what we came for. And it's now time to show what we can do on the field.
Brooke, you get to be the best, you got to beat the best, right?
Yeah.
What did you take away when you knew you were the road was probably going to go through them? So the competitor and a lot of people say, absolutely, bring it. Was that your mindset?
Yeah, for sure.
What was your thoughts and remembrances of the tournament?
It was really nerve-wracking knowing that we were probably going to end up playing them, but you just have to go out there, and the seniors helped a lot to calm us down and just get us going, I guess.
So tell me about your seniors that were helping calm you down last year.
There was I don't remember how many, but they really just talk to you about how not to let them get into your head, and it's just another team, we can go out there and do it.
What is fun for soccer for you when you go out and play?
Learning new stuff is always fun, and then just playing the game, I think, is fun.
So when Coach had to assemble that meeting here a couple of months ago and tell you that the season was over, what was your emotion?
Well, I was sad, but at least we went out on a good note and got second in state, which is pretty awesome.
So that's pretty good perspective to have. Did the other girls have that? I mean, I know there's not a lot of seniors on this squad. You're one of the ones, and you just have to kind of shrug it off and move on, right? That's life.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it, so you just need to make the best of the situation.
And Coach, that's probably got to be one of the hardest things you've had to deliver.
Yes, it was one of the hardest things to deliver just because I was looking so forward to the season, especially with the new class that we were bringing up from the 8th grade to the freshmen. And so I was super stoked to see what we can accomplish this past season if we had one. And so
just telling girls like, hey, sorry, season's canceled, and it's like nothing we can do. It's just one of those things where the girls are like, oh no, and then it's just like, well, we'll just prepare for next year.
And you do have a good nucleus, so maybe we'll be talking to you next year at the state tournament.
That is the hope. We have a good 8th grade even coming up after that year, so we're hoping to bring it back, and the juniors this past year are hopefully going to step up and be ready to play.
All right. North Polk, runner-up last year in 2019 in Class 1A. Thank you so very much for the time, ladies. The Davenport Assumption Knights have been, to put it mildly, on a roll in soccer. This is what you would say a modern-day powerhouse in girls soccer, and really a couple of the girls' sports. Let's talk soccer now. Coach Elizabeth Moss and the Assumption Knights join us now. Coach, 4 straight titles. What's that mean to you?
I think it's just shows the true dedication and effort and summertime work that these girls put in to come back year after year to make a statement in these tournaments, and not only in the tournaments but during their season. They put a lot of hard work and preparation in, not only on the field but in the weight room, and it really pays off in the end for them. And it's just a proud moment for me to see them year after year come through and win that last game.
You can't always say it's the same group of girls because they were 8th graders when you won that first of the title. So let's start with 2017 a little bit. Carly King, she's not in this interview, but we certainly are familiar with her. Are there players that had set the tone that kind of set up this run for you too, that maybe set an example for people to follow?
I think we had a good base to start with, but certainly, at the beginning of the 4-year run, we had that group of seniors that just graduated last year. Like you mentioned, we had Carly, Livy, Lauren, just all setting the tone for them. They're starting every game and letting the younger players know that this isn't something you just come out for. There's expectations and you need to be prepared, and they kind of set the tone for that and lead the way for these younger girls to come in and follow in their footsteps.
In 2017, you knock out Center Point Urbana 3-0. Sully, you had a couple of goals. You had a couple of big plays in that game. In fact, Sully, you scored the first goal. What's it like to score first for a team?
I think it's really great to kind of start off the pace. It makes you feel really good and confident that your team will just keep rolling and scoring. And I think that's something that we kind of have we just do that a lot. Just keep going.
Is there one of the 3 years, Sully, that stands out for you, 17, 18, or 19?
I mean, I think just this last year, because being older, you definitely have a bigger role to play, and kind of getting that assist of the game-winning goal, which just was a really great moment to have.
Kylie, is there any one of the state championships that stands out most to you?
I think last year, 2019, because just like as a junior, I got to play a bigger role and be a bigger part of that state championship.
You have the pink shirt on. Is there one? Is the one from 2019 your favorite?
Yeah.
What else about the whole experience have you enjoyed? Whether it's a name tag or a bag tag or the shirt, what stands out in that whole state experience for you?
I think just being around the girls all the time. I mean, we're with each other for like 3 days and getting to stay in the hotel room, and we have a bunch of competitions that night. That's probably my favorite part about the whole experience.
All right, Sophia, is it fun when it comes down late in a contest when it's tense like that?
As a defender, it's kind of really stressful because you don't want to be the person to let in the goal, but it's definitely a lot more fun to play those games rather than 10-0 a team, because at least you get challenged and you get to try new things, and you have to think outside of the box on how you're going to score.
Well, you had one of those in 2018. You had an 8-0 game. That was one of those that there was very little doubt what was going on. But that's still fun, though, right?
Yes.
Abby, what about you? Do you ever look around and realize that you're a part of something special? Or does it just when does it hit you, or has it hit you now?
I would say it really hit me last year. For the first 2 years, we were underclassmen. So we were kind of just looking up to the older girls like, oh, is this really how it is? And then last year, like you said, the game was closer. It was more intense. It definitely meant so much that last year because we were the older girls now, and we were the ones who were setting the example. Like, yes, it's like this is what you work for. This feeling right here when the whistle blows and you won the state championship. Like, it was incredible.
Abby, do you have your pink shirt still?
Yes, I have all 3 of them.
So there's none that fits better than the others, like other than maybe like you're saying the upperclassmen feel?
No, I'd say they all mean a lot to me, but just like the most recent one was the one that meant the most for sure, because it was just like I can still like feel like the whole stadium and just everything.
So Sully, I asked you specifically about a couple of games. You're right in the thick of all of these games. Is there one that maybe stands out to you?
I think they all stand out in different ways. Like my freshman year, it was great to come in and be part of the team and have a big impact in that way. And then this last year to kind of finish it off for us.
So now you mentioned the finish it off for us. You didn't realize at that moment that was going to be the last game. So now that you've had a little bit of time to reflect, has it gotten any easier?
I think so. It's gotten easier to realize that was a good game for us to go out on, because you never know what the future could have held. So you just kind of have to take what you were given for what it was.
Sophia, when Coach had to call that meeting and say, sorry, ladies, there's no season, what was your emotion?
When she first said it, it was pretty devastating just because you always look forward to that senior season. But I honestly felt worse for the girls like Abby, I guess, who like aren't really going to college to continue the sport. And it kind of just was rough that I didn't get to like say goodbye to that team. Like I'd never step on the field with them again. But as the weeks have gone past, I'm just grateful for the 3 seasons that I got to play.
Abby, is that pretty accurate what she's saying?
Yeah, I look back on it now and I just wish that I spent like 5 more minutes on the field, like just taking it all in, like taking deep breaths, like, wow, this was my last time. But I still plan on playing some club soccer in college and definitely like getting together with some of the girls over the summer and kicking the ball around. But I definitely wish that I had just one more moment, like on the field with my best friends.
And Coach, that's probably been one of the toughest things you've had to do, I'm guessing, is it? To tell them the season wasn't happening?
Yeah, I mean, we've been through our fair share of adversity as a team. We win games and we win championships, but we've been through a few things as a team. So this is definitely probably at the top for us. It was a decision that I think our heads knew were coming, but our hearts hoped it wouldn't. So for it to, actualize and be here, it's kind of surreal, the time that we're in right now. And I don't know we've all fully digested it, that, next week would be the state tournament. But we just accept that we did our best last season, went out on top. The girls certainly have nothing to hang their heads about. And I know that they all have memories throughout the last 3 years that they'll tell stories on every time they get together. So it's been a good time.
Well said, Coach. And ladies, I don't know if any team will repeat what you've done. You have a lot to be proud of, and you know that you'll always be an Iowa girl for what you've accomplished on the field. Assumption Knights, thank you. In sports, debates are settled on the field. The boundaries are defined. The scoreboard will tell the truth, and the best team usually wins. We'll never know which schools should have been crowned 2020 state soccer champs. That debate will continue for years to come. At Iowa PBS, we know the class of 2020 was ready. We watched you play through the years. We saw you compete, and we'll never stop cheering for you. Funding provided by Fairway Meat and Grocery is proud to sponsor the Iowa Girls State Soccer Championships. Fairway believes in supporting the places Iowans learn, work, live, and play. By Musco Lighting, the sports lighting specialists, providing lighting systems for you, your project, and your community.